Come closer for a moment, not just in distance, but in attention, and allow yourself to step into a world where certainty has not yet hardened into history, where the boundaries between truth and meaning remain fluid, and where the earliest stories of great civilizations were not written to inform, but to endure. Imagine a landscape untouched by empire. No marble roads, no legions, no monuments carved to declare permanence. Only open land, scattered settlements, fragile power, and the quiet tension of ambition waiting for its moment. In that world, in the region known as Latium, there existed a royal lineage that traced itself, whether by belief or by careful construction, back to the Trojan exile Aeneas. From survival came legacy. From legacy came kings. And from those kings came a fracture that would change everything. Numitor was the rightful ruler of Alba Longa. His authority, like so many in antiquity, rested on lineage, on inheritance, on the expectation that order follows blood. But power rarely respects expectation. His brother Amulius saw opportunity where others saw tradition. He did not wait for succession. He took the throne, and once taken, power becomes a problem to maintain. Amulius understood this with unsettling clarity. A throne seized through force cannot rest securely so long as rightful heirs remain alive. So he eliminated Numitor's sons, removing the most immediate threats. Yet one figure remained, Numitor's daughter, Rhea Silvia. She was not a warrior, not a political rival in the conventional sense, but she represented something more dangerous, continuity. Amulius chose a method that was as strategic as it was deceptive. He forced her into the priesthood as a Vestal virgin, binding her to a vow of chastity under the authority of religion. It appeared righteous. It was anything but. By ensuring she would bear no children, he sought to end a bloodline without drawing further suspicion. It should have worked. But the enduring power of legend lies in its refusal to accept that human intention is absolute. Rhea Silvia conceived, whether through divine intervention, as tradition insists, or through circumstances left deliberately ambiguous, she bore twin sons. The claim that their father was Mars, the god of war, was not incidental. It was foundational. It suggested that what was being born was not merely a continuation of a family, but the beginning of something shaped by conflict itself. Romulus and Remus entered the world as both children and threats. Amulius did not hesitate. He ordered their deaths. Yet even in systems built on fear, there are limits to obedience. The servants given the task could not carry it out directly. Instead, they placed the infants in a basket and set them upon the Tiber River, transferring responsibility from human hands to the uncertainty of nature. The river carried them, not swiftly to death, but slowly, almost deliberately, until the current weakened and the basket settled among reeds along the bank. There, exposed to the elements and to whatever might find them, the twins cried. What happened next is the moment that has defined the legend across centuries. A she-wolf approached. In a narrative shaped by symbolism as much as by story, this detail is essential. The animal, wild, powerful, untamed, did not destroy the children. She sustained them. She became, in that moment, a guardian where humanity had failed. The image is as striking as it is enduring. Civilization, in its infancy, nourished not by order, but by the raw forces that exist beyond it. Soon after, the twins were discovered by a shepherd, Faustulus, who brought them into his home. Together with his wife, Acca Larentia, he raised them. They grew not within walls of protection, but within a world that demanded resilience. Their upbringing was practical, grounded, and shaped by hardship. They learned to survive before they learned to rule. As they became young men, their presence began to alter their surroundings. They were not passive figures. They led, defended, challenged. Others gathered around them, not out of obligation, but out of recognition. Leadership in its earliest form is rarely assigned. It is observed. Yet even within their bond, differences sharpened. Remus carried a boldness that bordered on defiance. Romulus possessed a quieter intensity, one that suggested control rather than reaction. These distinctions, subtle at first, would later define everything. The truth of their origin emerged not gradually, but through conflict. Remus was captured and brought before the authority that had once sought his death. At the same time, the hidden past was revealed to Romulus. What had been survival became identity. What had been identity became purpose. They did not hesitate. The brothers moved against Amulius, dismantling his rule with the same decisiveness he had once used to establish it. The cycle completed itself. Power taken unjustly was reclaimed through force. Numitor was restored. Order, at least on the surface, was re-established. But restoration was not enough. Romulus and Remus chose not to remain within the structure that had nearly erased them. Instead, they turned back toward the place of their abandonment. The river, the land, the origin of their survival, and decided to build something new. A city. It is here that the narrative shifts from survival to creation, and with it from unity to division. Two founders cannot shape a single vision indefinitely. They disagreed, first on location, then on authority. The disagreement was not trivial. It was fundamental. Each carried the same history, the same legitimacy, the same claim. To yield would be to diminish oneself. They sought resolution through augury, looking to the natural world for divine approval. Yet the signs they received did not unify them. Instead, they introduced ambiguity. Each could claim favor. Neither would concede. Romulus began to mark the boundaries of the city. This act, though physical, was deeply symbolic. A boundary is not merely a line. It is a declaration of identity, of control, of intention. Remus crossed it. Whether in mockery, challenge, or disbelief, the act carried weight. It questioned the authority behind the boundary. It diminished its meaning. Romulus responded with finality. Remus was killed. There is no way to soften that moment, nor should there be. The story does not attempt to excuse it. Instead, it places it at the very center of Rome's origin. The implication is stark. The creation of order may demand the destruction of what stands against it, even when that opposition is bound by blood. Romulus became the sole founder. From there he built, not in abstraction, but in necessity. He opened the city to outsiders, to those without status, to those seeking opportunity. Rome, from its earliest conception, was not exclusive. It was absorptive. Yet growth revealed its own limitations. A population without women cannot sustain itself. Diplomacy failed. Trust had not yet been earned. So Romulus turned to strategy. A festival was announced. Neighbors were invited. And in a calculated moment, the women were taken. The act was forceful, disruptive, and consequential. It led to conflict, as it inevitably would. But what followed was something more complex than simple warfare. The women intervened. No longer outsiders, no longer merely victims. They stood between two worlds, between the families they came from and the lives they had been forced into. Their actions halted the violence. They redefined the outcome. Through them, conflict transformed into union. Rome expanded not by avoiding tension, but by absorbing it. Romulus ruled, organized, structured. The city evolved from a settlement into a system. And then, as suddenly as so many pivotal moments in the story, he was gone. A storm. A disappearance. No definitive end. Some believed he had ascended, becoming something more than human. Others suspected a more deliberate removal. The uncertainty remains, and perhaps that is intentional. The story does not insist on a single truth. It leaves space for interpretation, just as all enduring narratives do. And what remains, when all events have passed, is not simply a sequence, but a reflection. A city born from abandonment, sustained by the wild, defined by conflict, strengthened through integration, and remembered not for purity, but for resilience. That is why this story continues to resonate. It does not offer comfort, it offers recognition. It acknowledges that creation is rarely clean, that power carries cost, and that identity is often forged in contradiction. Now, having walked through this story, consider what it leaves with you. What part of it feels most human? What moment lingers the longest? If this retelling held your attention, offered perspective, or gave new depth to a familiar legend, take a moment to like, comment, and share it with others who value stories that endure beyond time.